Gary Rowett has a couple of selection dilemmas as Blues head to Brentford, with suspensions and injuries meaning the manager may have to make a couple of changes at Griffin Park.
Glees struggling after last week, so again we'll take that to the wire today and see if he can be fit, but he's a doubt. Obviously Specs miss out due to suspension, and Caddy, apart from that, everyone else is fit and raring to go, and obviously we've got pretty much a full house of options apart from Specs. He just pulled his calf. He pulled it after about 60 minutes, and at that point I think it was him and Clates was holding his Achilles a little, and I just felt as though if I was going to make two changes, I was actually going to bring two different players off, but I thought I'd better bring those two off because, of course, if I make two changes at that point and those two come off injured, then I'm stuffed. So I don't know if that's a technical term, but that's how I felt at the time. So we took him off, and I think it probably was wise because he's struggled with it since. I think he had it at MK Dons before and missed sort of about 4 weeks. So we're just a bit mindful that we don't want to go down that same route. Robert's trained all week. Just wasn't quite ready for last weekend. Not played any game time. We were hoping we could get him a run out on Monday, but the game was obviously called off. So he hasn't had that opportunity to play in any matches of the under-23s, just to give him a bit of that. So again, it'll be a call on whether we think he's fit enough to go in and start after being out for a while. But of course, he would be the obvious one. You got Dave Davis, who would equally fit in there alongside Michael. So again, it just depends on which way we'll go. But that's not so much an area where if we have an injury that's that much of a concern, because of course we don't want to miss Glees. We don't want Glees to not be available because he's very important to us. But we've got players in there that can play and cope and do well, as we've seen in the past.
David Davis is set for his 100th appearance for Blues should he feature against the Bees, and Rowett was full of praise for the midfielder, whose desire and versatility has seen him become a prominent feature in the Blues side after an uncertain summer.
Listen, I'll be really honest, I felt also in the summer that probably to improve our team from what we did last season, that someone like Tesh would come into the team and improve it. I think what Dave Davis has done is he's worked incredibly hard over the summer, like he always does. His fitness and strength is something that you almost take for granted now because he's a terrific professional, and he's shown his versatility as well. And I think that what we found sometimes last season was occasionally what you would get from Dave Davis was incredible energy. He'd break the game up brilliantly for us. And just occasionally I used to say to let's be a little bit more disciplined with our position tactically, just because he would chase and win things, and sometimes that would leave gaps. But I think certainly this season, having played a little bit wider, we still want him to play like a midfielder. That's the thing I've said to him. Like I said, I don't expect you to go doing step overs and beating people. But what I would say to you is you can play a little bit narrower and play like a third midfielder, but you can also use your energy in getting up and down the pitch and getting into the box and breaking the game up in that way. So I think he's done that really well. He's played with real good discipline. He's played on the left, played on the right. He wants to play in the middle. That's Dave Davis. I know that Dave Davis wants to be a central midfielder, and when he's gone in there, particularly late in games, it's actually suited him because he has the energy to put his stamp on the game. But I think wherever we play him, he's had a new level of consistency. I think he's imposing himself on games even more. He scored, I think, 3 goals this season, so he's added that to his game also. I think he can be really pleased with the start he's made. And like you say, sometimes with players, you start the season with an eye on perhaps someone like Dave Davis, maybe being a very, very good squad player for us, and the level means that they end up playing nearly every game, and that's what it's about. It's always there for players to get into your team and stay in the team.
Saturday's opponents, Brentford, haven't yet found the form to push for a place in the top 6, but boss Gary Rowett is taking nothing for granted and expects a tough test for his team.
They're a good team. I know the results haven't been as good as they would like probably recently, but you've seen some of the early games in the season. They can score goals, they can pass teams off the pitch, they can create problems for you with their movement, particularly in central areas. They've got a little bit of pace out wide as well, so we know they'll attack. We know they'll try and have lots of the ball, and we know that they'll be a threat with Hogan in behind, stretching the game and making very, very clever runs, and obviously in fine goal scoring form. So we know what we'll have to do. We'll have to be very competitive against them. But I think, not just from a defensive point of view, but we're going to have to pass the ball better ourselves. I think away from home we've just struggled to get out in some of the games. We've managed to get that sort of defensive block really well honed in most of the away games, but occasionally in some of them we just haven't quite passed it well enough. You look at the Huddersfield game, it took us about 60 minutes to actually start to realise that we can actually hurt them, and that's not from a tactical point of view of what we want. That's just, I think, from the players believing it on the pitch and taking a bit more responsibility away. So we can do it, and I think we can still do that with a real attacking threat. But I think we need to do that a little more away from home. So again, we're always trying to work on things that we need to be better at. We're always trying to look at things, even though we're in fifth and going well. We know we want to keep improving in certain areas, and Saturday be another test as to whether we can play with a little bit more fluidity and not lose any of that toughness and resilience away from home.